What are you doing, Mary? Shh. Oh, sorry. 1 week later. Mary, what are you doing? Shh. Okay. 15 days on. Mary, are you done yet? Do I look like I'm done? Probably not, but then again, I wouldn't really know, would I? What? I mean, I don't actually know what you're up to, do I? Oh yeah, good point. So? What? Well, you've been sitting there for weeks, haven't you? You might like to tell me about it. I brought some. Not hungry, thanks all the same. No worries, I can eat them myself. Z starts munching on crispy mushrooms. Crispy mushrooms? Why didn't you say? Don't keep them all to yourself, will you? Sure, tuck in. I needed a break anyway. You're telling me, have you actually slept in the last 3 weeks? Difficult to say, Z. I wasn't exactly operating within time in the usual sense, was I? Otherwise, I'd have passed out by now. Probably be dead, wouldn't I? You're telling me? I've never seen anything like it. You sitting there, standing, and holding some asinine pose. Asinine pose? Is that what you call my divine asana? The love child of generations of intense study, meditation, yoga, and inspired madness. Oh, it was an asana. I thought you were trying to impersonate a goldfish having an out-of-body experience. Either that or a radish intent on revealing, by proxy, the inner snail. Ha, bloody ha. Very funny. Do you have to lower the tone? I'm sorry, unparliamentary language, inexcusable. Well, it's not the first time, but no harm done. On the contrary, it explains my failure to achieve terminal velocity. Huh? Terminal velocity. Sitting immobile? Not sure I follow. You don't have to move, Z, do you? Call me a traditionalist, but I rather assumed you do, movement being a prerequisite for movement. Where's your imagination, Z? Movement is the one way guaranteed not to give you real movement. Uh-huh. In the same way, real inspiration has to flow through you, in spite of your thoughts and personal limitations. Oh, right, yeah, maybe. But what's that got to do with physical movement? Real movement has to come from within. I'm going to say something very foolish, which I'd like you to forget immediately. Yeah, whatever. Real movement requires a perturbation in your space-timiness. Excuse me? In your space-time field, okay? Which itself requires a rearrangement of your isness-ness. Oh, God. Yeah, more or less. God's practically the only way you can possibly begin to comprehend the isness-ness. I mean, what on earth are you on about? Precisely nothing on earth, if that's any help. No, not really. Didn't think so. But there's precious little I can do about it. Once you essentially step out of time, no matter where you appear to be, sitting in the garden under a cherry tree, as I am, or on a mountainside in the Himalayas, you are essentially decoupled from Earth, the operating system, busting out in a state of active notness. Oh, so now it's notness, is it? Not content to graffiti isness on the cave wall of my mind, you decided to go full Plato and drag me outside into the sunlight of my unknowingness. Well done, Z. Very poetic. The sunlight of your unknowingness seems to be yielding fruits of umbral vermilion. I give up. Okay, running ahead of myself. Honestly, Z, You can hardly expect me to be entirely sane or rational when I've barely returned from a close encounter with isness, can you? I suppose not. In fact, I've never really expected you to be entirely, or even partially sane or rational, have I? But could you possibly explain what on earth compels you to make such a mockery of normal reality and basic what? You know, the way things are done, the way people basically behave, organize their lives. You mean isness? Okay, have it your way, damn you, Mary. Mary shifts into an elegant one-legged crane asana, which calms things down noticeably, and reality, imperceptibly, slips back to where they left off a minute or two ago. The way people basically behave, organize their lives, without the need to invert the field. Oh, so you noticed, did you? You see, you noticed. Without noticing, you'd noticed. Field inversion. Astonishing. Shit. Language, Z. Oops, It's okay. It's to be expected in the circumstances. You're absolutely right, of course. I inverted the field. Can hardly help doing so, can I? Me being not what I is. As in uncapitalized I? Yes, that and 73. Oh, fliminy jiminy, another random number from your insatiable impredictability field. Bingo! You've done it again. You nailed it. Impredictability, as opposed to unpredictability, does not imply things cannot be predicted, but that doing so would affect the outcome unless the I am and the it is are wholly reconciled, as in 0 equals 1. That having been done, all bets are off. Mind and matter now correlate infinitely so that, for example, a seemingly random number can trigger a limitless cascade of causality, all things being equal, impredictably, believe it or not. Oh, beep! Wowsy, you're really letting rip today, aren't you? Beep! What's come over me? You've shocked yourself deeply by noticing once again, without noticing you'd noticed. By speaking from the other side of mind, the side that doesn't weigh and measure what it's going to say, which speaks out intuitively, directly, from a knowingness. Your cogito ergo me is bound to freak out. Cogito ergo my ass! You and your bloody theories! Well, I suppose now you've come this far, you may as well continue daubing your foul language on the crystalline sphere of isness. It won't stick, I assure you. Oh, so it's a crystalline sphere now, is it? In a manner of speaking, yes. It can be described that way. But on the other hand, isness never really allows words or ideas to box it in. Look, Z, there's always going to be a personal issue when you come into close contact with naughty not, or someone who has decompressed the earthly coil, so to speak, collapsing the time function, travelling without moving, bringing infinity back into play. Time seems to pause a minute or two, maybe more, while Z disconnects from the grid unknowingly. Okay. Ridiculous though this may sound, something in what you just said actually totally makes sense. I mean, I don't have a clue what you're on about. Don't get me wrong, but I seem to know exactly what you mean. Weird, or what? I must be going mad. Funny, isn't it? I guess letting off steam expletively kind of helps, enabling you to confront the personal nature of things, how this whole shebang is packaged within the egoic cortex, the interface of mind, matter, me, over not. Literally, like X, Y, and Z axes, meeting at the place where you're least in control of yourself, at naught, the triaxial intersect. Ah, and suddenly the isnessness goes from being an outlandish, alien incomprehensibility to making sense, untime permitting. Huh? Well, it's never going to make sense in time, is it? Well, no, I suppose not. Not with time being only half the tale. The quantifiable tick-tock of things coming, things going, materially, without reference to the isness, the crucible at center, where X, Y, and Z axes converge, shine like a star as the timeless unity, 0 equals 1. Small wonder I looks t'other way, ignoring the unfathomable, glaring sun at the center of all that is me, where collapsed boundaries coalesce, focusing, instead, on thingability. A convenient geometric fiction of linear objectivity fading exponentially into ever-expanding obscurity. Time-bound, we fix on anything but the golden isness I be. Little suspecting the sun in the sky is in fact, I can't say it. Why is that? Third law of uncertainty. Moving swiftly on, but yes, you're absolutely right, it is. So now I'm free of all that. Untimified, am I? Not intentionally, but then again, without realizing it, you shifted into a sense and sensibility of my I. Didn't, haven't, isn't you. Now that you mention it, I suppose Oh, heck. Z is suddenly aware of a vast, vertigo-inducing cavernous isness, a void that under normal circumstances is completely wrapped up, neatly boxed and bound within the egoic me is me, who somehow now is strangely absent, revealing until suddenly your attention is drawn to the fact, and your fledgling state of awareness suddenly grows unstable, collapses in on itself, suddenly, kabang! Ow. What the beep? Z, are you all right? All right, Z is utterly nonplussed, having imploded, inverted, collapsed in on non-self with a kind of earth-shattering sonic boom. For a second he's panic-struck, imagining, as the ego is wont to do, that he inadvertently let rip, as in whiffy, feeling that prickly sensation of shame, sniffing the air for any telltale sign of cabbaginess. Don't worry, Z. It wasn't you. An instability in the quantum field brought about by my rather absurd disambiguation. Your what? Well, I went all in, didn't I, for a week or two? More like 3 or 4. Yes, that's right. And then you stepped in and you helped bring me back to reality. I did? Absolutely. Couldn't have done it without you. Like Lady Macbeth, I was in naught, stepped in so far that should I wade no more, returning were as tedious as go o'er. Such is the allure, the tantalizing draw of infinity. So easy to lose yourself. You mean I saved your life? In a manner of speaking, yes. By popping your bubble? By removing my... Mary, what's happened? You've frozen again, like a bad internet connection on Skype. Shit! What am I meant to do? Z's phone speaker starts transmitting Mary's voice. Do? Since when was doing ever a way of solving an issue with time dislocation? Part of me is still on the other side of the cherry tree, in the crystalline sphere of is. Quickly, run around the tree. Z springs into action. Not that way, imbecile! The other way, or we're lost. The whole of reality could implode with me. Z bifurcates. One part of him rails against Mary for calling him imbecile. The other races round the cherry tree, anti-clockwise. Nay, on second thoughts, clockwise. Damn it, something's messing with the optics. In any case, clockwise, anti-clockwise, or thirdly. Thirdly? What do you mean thirdly? I utterly cannot hope to say, dear Melatron, but look for yourself. There's an entirely different axis of perception involved, is there not, which is neither clockwise nor anti. Damn, I hate to admit it, but yes, you're right, confound it. And blastity blast for all that. Ah, we seem to have resolved the issue, Epsilon. Indeed, Ziphani. Chell will be delighted, I'm sure. Chell? Are you sure? Absolutely. Chell will be ecstatic, without a doubt. If you say so, but don't you think he'll be... Pronouns, Ziphani. You can't he, Chell, for love of naught, can you? Nor can you, me, Epsilon. Talk about hypocrisy. Oh, damn. We seem to be caught in Mary's inversion field. Field? How and naught can an inversion field itself? It can't, of course, until it does. Second law of indeterminacy. Okay. Don't teach your grandmother to suck eggs. Apparently so. Meanwhile, Z, running around the cherry tree, shares the moment, noticing without noticing, knowing without knowing how, and R's to a halt in 3 separate moments, simultaneously. Unsure which is the real McCoy, which is the actual me. So you see. In each separate moment, Mary starts talking as if nothing could be more natural, and in each separate moment holds a separate asana, each one utterly ridiculous, absurd beyond belief, each one drawing into question the very credibility of reality itself. And suddenly, Z's uncertainty is resolved. The certainty of uncertainty dawns upon him, unceremoniously, as Epsilon and Ziphani finally resolve their tiffle in a manly embrace, and remember to their great surprise and amusement that Chell was in fact an unfrication of ich and L. And thus, all's well that ends well, is it not? Belovedness of is, beloved field of matter not ing, oh. If I be right, if... Z, what on earth are you spouting? Don't ever ask me to take you anywhere again. You evidently can't handle naughtiness. You may be right, Mary, but something tells me our journey is more important than rhyme or reason, that we've put a hitch in time, and now the world's about to realize, thirdly, infinity be in play. You wist? I what? For what it's worth, but more, anon. Utter garbage. You lost the thread? Me? I'm not the one in control of the writer's pen. No, but you are in control of the field the writer seeks to define or maintain. And what have you allowed it to become? Reckless reader, idle dissipate. I beg your pardon. How dare you speak to me like that? The reader is inviolate, may not be criticized, slandered, or condemned. is the neutral, passive recipient of the writer's best attempt at creativity or, at the very least, literacy. No more, beloved reader, no more. We are in this together, and all are condemned until we uncollapse the field of is, unless we restore ness to ness, movement to movement, naught to naught, so help us God. Amen. And tickle me pink, so help us God. 0 equals 1. Read no more. It's a scam. A Nigerian prince desperate to inveigle your mind. Take your money. How to recontain things. Can't be done. Pandora's box is opened again, but this time it's not time allowing things to matter in new and unpredictable ways, is it? Indeed. This time it's not time, as in naught. The great and grotesquely unnoticed, unobserved, ignored, now calling into question fundamentally, absolutely every fundamental, every absolute, starting with me, the great illusion of separateness, the quaint anachronistic idea that things were ever truly what they seemed. If only they could see the wonder, the beauty of is, the field as it flows throughout, unifying all the way back to 0, 1, yet allowing conscious expression ad infinitum, an awareness of whatever the quantum field conjures momentarily into 3D picture boards of flat-mindedness. Of course they can see, of course. Why would you doubt their adherence to the first, the second, the third rules of indeterminacy, Master Chell? HL, if you don't mind. But we still have to touch base, or else none of this will ever recombobulate. Indeed we do, Lazarus. So let me waive my basic right to be ingness and be thing, 3 axes instead, for the love of God, so to speak, for the love of all that man can be and do via through my self-inversion. Amen. So where are we, Mary? No idea, Z. Real movement requires a sense of everywhere being here. When the boundaries are down, once time zeroes in thirdly. But how are we going to get back if we don't know where we are? Back? To where we came from. Oh, that's what you mean. Yes. No idea. What? Not the faintest, nor the foggiest. In fact, isn't it wonderful, deliciously free, to be surfing the waves of utter abandonment, of quantum indeterminacy? Well, maybe, but I do have things to do, you know. Put the dog out, turn up at work tomorrow. Tomorrow? Yes, Monday morning, you know. Have a look outside, see? Is it going to make my stomach churn violently? Kind of, yes. But you'll get used to it, I'm sure. It's like weightlessness, a bit, isn't it? Can't say I'm over familiar with that either. Well, anyway, the thing is to make the most of the moment, because there's no knowing what, or whether, or whence, for that matter. make the most of being utterly lost in the space-time continuum? Hardly lost, are we? No? 16th rule of indeterminacy. Exactly where or when we need to be right now, corresponding perfectly with an isness in 3D reality or any other numerical D you might choose to explore. Ah, that's good to know. So, boundary imposed to prevent inadvertent catastrophic disambiguation. Hereafter ICD, for what it's worth.